Alright everybody, I'm just going to pick up where I left off here of my previous video. This is my part 2 of my testimony here. As I was saying, I did try suicide several times, and then in between the multiple times, I actually eventually got a job. Just like most of my other friends, they got a job, so I got one as well. I actually took a job. Now remember, I was just in high school at this point. I took a job as a janitor. It was just a part-time job, and I went right after school and did a little cleaning, and then, I think it was just 4 hours a day, and then I went home. Okay, and the funny thing was is that it never cut into any of my time, because I would have dinner, and then I would go out with my friends, or whatever. So anyway, in the school, what I had to do was I had to clean a lot of the rooms. Well, what it is, the grade school was enormous. And what I did was I took care of the 5th and 6th grade classrooms. And the thing is that I actually would take time out of my day. And what I actually did was I would actually read a book. I had a passion for reading since I was a little child. So I remember this one classroom, it had a book. They had several books. And they had one particular book. It was The History of the Roman Empire. And this intrigued me quite a bit because I actually had a passion, and still do, have a passion for history. And of course, this was History of the Roman Empire. And I'm like, hey, here we go. This is something I'd be interested. I actually sat down and read it. Now, yes, it was geared for kids. So there's actually, as I look back at it now, because I know a lot more history about the Roman Empire now than I do then. But it just hit the high points, the emperors, the battles, the conquests, that sort of thing. Well, the thing is that the last 4 chapters of the book talks about the spread of Christianity throughout the Roman world. And this was very intriguing to me because, again, I had an understanding of Christianity, but I mean, it wasn't really, high much on my mind, but it was there, and I'm like, okay, I read this. Well, the thing is, of course, the first chapter dealt with Jesus and his 12 disciples, and how each one of those scattered throughout the Roman world, and like I said, the spread of the Christian faith throughout the Roman world, and eventually legalized in time. The thing is, what I did, though, was I probably read those last couple of chapters quite a number of times. And I didn't realize at the time, but I was actually searching at this point. Now, the thing is that during also this time, I actually watched the miniseries. Matter of fact, they still air it from time to time on TV. You might want to look for it. The Jesus of Nazareth miniseries. Now, for those older people who might remember this miniseries, it came out originally in the 70s, and the whole thing is like 8 or 10 hours long. Okay, and the thing is that it's basically a drama, okay, of the life of Christ, and of course, from birth to death, and then resurrection. Well, the thing is, while this was all going on, my best friend, he actually became a Christian, which was kind of surprising to me, seeing how he was always well noted for having a very dry sense of humor. But the thing is that he was also extremely intelligent, and much like me, he also had a passion for reading. So I actually noticed a very profound change in his life. And the thing is that was just like, what? What's going on? Well, eventually he invited me to a Bible study that he was attending. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Thing is that once I went to this a couple of times, I actually felt very uncomfortable because I really didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what they were reading and just didn't get into it. Well, the thing was that several years prior to this, my aunt came and visited us, and she left me a New Testament. It was just the New Testament, the 4 Gospels, and that was it. Well, the thing is, like I said, I was going to this Bible study. I knew they studied the Bible. I knew they were talking about Jesus a lot. I did have a working knowledge of the Bible that the New Testament dealt with Jesus and the early church. That much I knew. So the thing is, okay, so I actually dug this book out of, I actually had it in my dresser. I didn't actually have it on a bookshelf. Okay, and I started to read it. I actually left it in my car, and I would actually read it during my time of break. And I remember so very clearly reading the four Gospels and eventually reading the entire New Testament, basically at my breaks at work. So, thing is that at that same time, another friend of mine, I didn't know there was such a thing as Christian music. Another friend of mine gave me this audio cassette of Amy Grant's The Collection album. Now, this was totally new. I didn't even know who she was at the time. And this was basically her greatest hits album. I didn't know that at the time. Okay, and what happened was that I was listening to this tape continuously, almost, like once a day at least. And the thing is that I realized then, for the very first time in my life, I was actually getting the message of that God loved me. Okay, well, in turn, I eventually found on TV. We'd gotten cable, and we actually, at that time, it was called CBN at that time. And what CBN did at that time, back in the early 80s and late 80s, is they would actually replay some old cartoons of Superbook and Flying House. Now, for any of those who don't know, these were cartoons of which CBN produced, and it was animated cartoon series of where they were explaining, the big stories coming from the Bible. Creation, Noah and the flood, Abraham, Joseph, Joshua and the wall, and so on and so on. And then Flying House was pretty much only just the New Testament. Now, I actually recorded these, and this was actually my first Bible of my life. And I really got into these quite a bit, and I was actually recording them, and I would watch them over and over again. And I actually recorded the Jesus of Nazareth miniseries, and I was watching this. So during this entire time, I was searching. So that was really the start. But of course, I was still practicing my New Age movements. Like I said, I got into astrology and numerology and tarot cards. I eventually got into crystals as well. Though it was there, but I did mostly my New Age meditation. And I was still, like I said, I was listening to this Christian music. I was watching these Christian videos, but I really didn't think the New Age movement and God, I didn't think there was a problem with it. Okay. All right, I'm going to stop here once again, and then I'm going to pick up from where I left off. Okay? Thank you very much.